The cicadas had been screaming for hours. They filled the humid Charleston night with a relentless, pulsing buzz, the kind of noise that made silence feel impossible. Yet, inside the Hales' two-story colonial house, it was too quiet. Too careful. Too practiced. Daniel Hale stood in the kitchen doorway, his bare feet against the cool hardwood floor, watching the soft flicker of the television from the living room. The clock above the sink read 11:43 p.m., late for Lauren. She was supposed to be home by 10. He glanced again at his phone, thumb hovering over her contact. Don't call yet, he told himself. She'll be home any minute. Still, something about that night felt wrong. It wasn't just that Lauren was late, she had been late before, plenty of times. Work dinners. Yoga classes. Wine nights with friends. But there was a new edge to her lateness lately, a slight delay when she answered questions, an almost imperceptible pause before she said his name. Danny, she'd say with that same soft smile she'd always used, the one that used to melt him. Now it only confused him. He walked to the counter, picked up her empty coffee mug from that morning. Lipstick print, pale pink, perfect. He'd kissed her goodbye at 7:30 a.m., watched her drive off in her white Lexus, sunlight glinting off the hood. Everything had seemed normal. But lately, normal had started to feel like a disguise. When the front door finally opened, Daniel straightened. Hey, Lauren said, stepping inside. Her voice was casual, too casual. She set her purse down and slipped off her heels, her perfume hitting him a moment later. Jasmine and something darker beneath it. Sorry I'm late. Jenna's birthday ran long. He studied her. Her hair was slightly tousled, and her lipstick had faded, but her eyes, those soft hazel eyes, didn't quite meet his. Jenna's birthday, he repeated, careful to keep his tone even. Yeah, she said, crossing the room. You remember Jenna from work? The one who? Yeah, I remember. She smiled quickly, but it didn't reach her eyes. You didn't have to wait up. I wasn't tired. She kissed his cheek, brief, distracted, and walked upstairs, her voice floating behind her. Don't forget the thermostat, it's supposed to rain again tomorrow. He stood there for a long moment after she disappeared, listening to her footsteps fade into the bedroom. Then, almost unconsciously, he reached into her purse on the counter. He'd never done it before. He didn't even know what he expected to find. But there it was, a hotel keycard. Marriott, downtown Charleston. And the sound of the cicadas outside suddenly seemed deafening. The next morning, Lauren was already gone when Daniel woke up. Just a note on the counter. Meeting early today. Don't forget to water the ferns. Love you. Love you. 2 simple words that used to mean something. He picked up the note and read it twice before crumpling it and tossing it into the trash. Then he looked out the kitchen window, their backyard glowing gold in the morning light. The world outside still looked perfect. Their house still looked perfect. Their life still looked perfect. He was the one starting to come apart. At work, he couldn't focus. Numbers blurred on his screen, colleagues' voices faded in and out. He'd been an architect for 15 years, detail, precision, order were second nature. But now every detail of his marriage seemed like a puzzle piece that no longer fit. At lunch, he called the Marriott. Hi, he said, voice steady. I think my wife might have left something in her room. She stayed there last night. Can you tell me if there's anything under the name Lauren Hale? There was a pause. Then the clerk replied, I'm sorry, sir. I don't see a Lauren Hale in our records for last night. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Could it be under another name? Maybe a business reservation. Let me check. Yes, actually. There was a Lauren Smith checked in. Room 312. He swallowed hard. Smith. Her maiden name. That night, he said nothing. Lauren came home at 6:30, talking about her day at the design firm, laughing about a coworker's mistake on a client's presentation. Her eyes sparkled like they used to, maybe even more than before. And for a moment, he wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that hotel key meant nothing. That maybe she'd gone there for work, or for a meeting, or for any reason that wasn't what it looked like. But the way she brushed his hand away when he tried to touch her told him everything. It started with a car. A black Audi SUV parked 2 houses down. The first time Daniel noticed it, he thought nothing of it, a neighbor's guest, maybe. But then it was there again the next night. And the next. One evening, as Lauren pulled into the driveway, he watched her glance toward the Audi before quickly looking away. He felt it like a punch to the gut. Whoever was in that car, she knew him. Later that night, while she was in the shower, Daniel stepped outside. The street was dark and still. He walked toward the Audi, heart hammering. When he got close, the driver's window rolled down. A man, maybe late 30s, looked at him. Confident. Calm. The kind of man who knew exactly what he was doing. "Can I help you?" Daniel asked. The man smiled faintly. "No, I don't think so." Daniel's fists clenched. "You've been sitting here every night." "Just waiting for someone," the man said softly. Then, without another word, he started the engine and drove off into the night. The next few days passed like fragments of a dream Daniel couldn't wake from. Lauren moved through the house with quiet efficiency, laundry, phone calls, dinners reheated and barely touched. From the outside, they were still the same couple who hosted wine nights, sent Christmas cards, took beach photos with matching smiles. But something invisible had snapped. And no one breaks what's already broken more efficiently than the person who caused the crack. Daniel became a ghost in his own home. He moved through rooms she had touched, through scents she left behind, perfume in the hall, lotion on the sink, the faint trace of another life layered over his own. Every night, he stared at the ceiling, listening for the soft glow of her phone lighting up beside her. Sometimes he'd see her smile at a message, quickly lock the screen, then turn her back to him. He didn't ask anymore. He already knew. It was Thursday when he finally decided to end it, not the marriage, not yet, but the guessing. He left work early and parked across the street from the design firm where Lauren worked. He told himself he was there by coincidence, that maybe they'd go to dinner, that maybe he'd surprise her like he used to when love still felt effortless. At 6:12 p.m., she walked out, not alone. The man from the black Audi was with her. Daniel felt his pulse hammer against his throat as he watched them. The man's hand brushed her back, light, intimate, familiar. She laughed, the sound floating easily through the humid evening air. Then she turned toward him, and for the first time, Daniel saw her face fully in love with someone else. Not guilty. Not afraid. Just, alive. He stayed in the car, invisible, until they disappeared into the parking lot of the downtown Marriott, the same hotel from the keycard. His hand trembled as he pulled out his phone and took the photo. Click. Proof. That night, Lauren came home at 10:41. "Hey," she said, as if nothing in the world had shifted. "Sorry, late again. We had to fix the lighting plan before tomorrow's." "Who's he?" The words came out quiet. Controlled. Too calm. She froze, one hand still on her purse strap. "What?" "The guy from the black Audi. The one who drives you to the Marriott." Her face drained of color. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she sighed, soft, almost relieved, and sat down on the edge of the couch. "You followed me," she said. Not a question. Daniel nodded once. "I had to know." Lauren looked at him for a long, unbearable silence. Then she said, "His name's Andrew." The name hung in the air like smoke. "Andrew," Daniel repeated. "How long?" 6 months, she said. Her voice didn't shake. It was almost gentle, like she was talking about something inevitable. It wasn't supposed to happen, Danny. He was just someone I met through a client project. He listened. He listened, Daniel echoed. So you decided to destroy everything we built for someone who listens? Her eyes filled with tears. You stopped seeing me a long time ago. That hurt more than he expected it to. Because maybe she wasn't entirely wrong. They didn't fight that night. Not loudly, at least. There were no thrown glasses, no shouted accusations. Just silence, heavy, absolute. Lauren went upstairs to sleep in the guest room. Daniel stayed on the couch until the morning light bled through the blinds. By the weekend, they were two strangers living in a house filled with echoes. Charleston's air was thick that Saturday evening, heavy with the scent of salt and magnolia. The Hales had promised to attend a small anniversary dinner for mutual friends, the kind of event they'd been hosting together for years. Canceling would raise questions, and neither of them wanted the appearance of trouble, not yet. Lauren dressed in pale blue, hair loose, eyes distant. Daniel wore the same navy suit he'd worn to their own 10th anniversary 2 years earlier. They drove in silence, the hum of the tires louder than either of their thoughts. The dinner was held in a restored antebellum home near the waterfront, chandeliers, polished floors, jazz playing softly in the background. Everyone laughed easily, glasses clinking, compliments exchanged. To everyone else, Daniel and Lauren were still perfect. The kind of couple others measured themselves against. Until dessert. That's when Daniel stood. He didn't plan to speak. But something in him refused to die quietly. I'd like to make a toast, he said, raising his glass. Smiles turned toward him. Lauren's face went pale. He looked at her, really looked at her, and then began, voice even and unflinching. To honesty, he said. To the kind of truth that comes when you've run out of lies. To knowing who you sleep beside. A hush fell over the table. Someone laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. But Daniel pulled out his phone, placed it on the white tablecloth, and turned the screen for everyone to see, the photo of Lauren and Andrew outside the hotel. Her hand on the other man's chest, her eyes lit with something Daniel hadn't seen in years. Gasps. A dropped fork. Lauren's hand trembled. Danny, she started, but her voice cracked. Please. But Daniel just raised his glass one last time. To the end of pretending. Then he left. The next morning, the news spread like humidity, slow and suffocating. Charleston was a small city wrapped in whispers. By noon, half their circle knew. By evening, her boss knew. By Monday, Andrew's wife knew. Lauren moved out 2 days later. The house felt cavernous without her. Every room seemed to echo differently. Daniel threw out her perfume, her magazines, her half-finished projects, everything except the framed wedding photo on the mantel. He left that one there, a reminder of who they used to be and who they became instead. He didn't cry. Not once. But sometimes, late at night, he'd find himself listening to the cicadas again, that same endless song from the first night he'd found the keycard. It still filled the silence. Only now, the silence felt like peace. Charleston summer again. The air shimmered above the cobblestone streets, tourists wandered the waterfront, and Daniel sat alone at a cafe, sketching on his iPad. He'd started a new firm, small, local, honest. He was thinner, quieter, older in ways that didn't show on paper. When he looked up, he saw Lauren across the street, hair shorter, wearing a simple white dress. She was with someone else, laughing softly. Not Andrew. Someone new. Their eyes met for a moment. Neither of them smiled. And then she turned away, disappearing into the crowd like a ghost he once loved. Daniel exhaled, long and slow, and for the first time in a year, the world didn't feel like it was holding its breath. He picked up his coffee, the sunlight warm on his hand. The cicadas started again, loud and endless. And for the first time, he didn't hate the sound.